question here about creatine. Moving on from an Alpha Betty White is the username. Uh, would removing creatine before and or during a water cut be advisable? How big of a strength loss should I expect, and in what time frame, assuming that I'm a responder to creatine? Um, so I would not bother removing creatine in the context of a water cut. Um, First of all, to do it, you'd have to do it ahead of time. So the washout period, some people say 4 weeks, some people say, closer to 6 or 8 weeks, depending on how confident you want to be. But we're talking about a month or two of going without creatine to get it fully washed out from your system. And so, like when you're reviewing a study on creatine, if there's a washout period, it better be at least 4 to 8 weeks. Otherwise, there's going to be some residual elevations of creatine stored in muscle and other tissues. So I don't know if it's really worth it to, like, if you're someone who actually gets benefits from creatine and you're a responder, I'm not sure that you want to go, 2, maybe even 3 months without the creatine leading up to an event where I assume you're hoping to optimize your performance. And another thing to keep in mind is that you can still very much dehydrate yourself when you're on creatine. So the creatine will increase your kind of baseline total body water level, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be unable to then reduce body water. Like, you can absolutely dehydrate yourself to your heart's content despite the fact that you're on creatine.
Your heart may or may not be contented with it.
Exactly. So
Once it's pumping blood through your fucking arteries that looks like molasses,
yes.
you can dehydrate to your heart's discontent,
Yeah.
regardless of creatine supplementation.
And I will say my bias here is that I'm just generally not very fond of water cuts, if I'm being honest. Of course, I understand uh, there are certain situations where you accept the health related trade-offs for the performance related benefits. I do think that there are many athletic endeavors where people think they're getting a performance benefit from their water cut, but they're actually harming their performance depending on the timing of the cut and the timing between weigh-in and actual competition. But that's probably a conversation for another day. But no, I don't think there's much utility in removing creatine before a water cut. Depending on the situation, if I were coaching you, I'd probably maybe try to talk you out of the water cut, especially if it's a very aggressive or extreme one. But nonetheless, the creatine is not going to be a critically important factor there.